A production company that provided a lot of movies to Disney in the mid to late 90s was Caravan Pictures. It was founded by Joe Roth and Raj Birnbaum in 1992 after they left their positions running 20th Century Fox and signed a 5-year deal with Disney. The deal gave them quite a bit of freedom in getting to make any kind of movie they wanted, with plans to produce films for the Walt Disney Pictures, Touchstone Pictures, and Hollywood Pictures labels. Although the first movie produced by Caravan was not one they had developed. That was The Three Musketeers, which went through a few producers before ending up under Caravan. It was originally going to be produced by Andrew Vajna of Synergy Pictures, but he then dropped out and Jordan Kerner and John Avnet became the principal producers. However, they too left the production, albeit while still retaining executive producer credits. Disney then brought in Roth and Birnbaum to take over and get the movie released before a different Three Musketeers adaptation that TriStar was working on. In the end, though, the TriStar version was never made. The Disney Caravan-produced take on the classic Alexandre Dumas story managed to pull in decent numbers at the box office, even if critical reception was mixed. A lot of the Caravan slate would consist of star-driven dramas, high-concept comedies, and family films. Roth and Birnbaum brought the film Angie with them from Fox, but did not do much business. Caravan had quite a few difficulties on the action comedy I Love Trouble. For one thing, it went over budget, and the other problem came from the fact that Nick Nolte and Julia Roberts hated working with each other. When the movie was released, reviews were largely negative, and it flopped. They did score a nice summer sleeper with Angels in the Outfield, as audiences responded to its inspirational baseball story, and it continued to grow its audience on video. Shortly after the release of Angels in the Outfield, Joe Roth was promoted to head of the entire Walt Disney Studios, leaving Birnbaum to run Caravan by himself. The comedies A Low-Down Dirty Shame and House Guest would perform modestly enough. Caravan also saw a lot of potential in the Jerky Boys, a comedy team that specialized in prank phone calls and gave them their own movie. However, the Jerky Boys movie flopped and is largely only remembered by fans of the duo. Heavyweights, notably one of the first films that Judd Apatow had a hand in, received little attention upon its release, although Disney made the curious decision to open a movie about a summer camp in February. It would do a lot better on video, though, and gain a sizable cult following. Another attempt to court the family crowd was the western Tall Tale, which was inspired by American legends. The movie would spend well over a year in post-production, and when it was released, it was a major flop. It would do a little better on video, but Caravan could use a few more theatrical wins. They did finally score a major breakout success with a romantic comedy, While You Were Sleeping. Audiences were charmed by Sandra Bullock in the movie, and it was even the first Caravan production to receive approval from critics. Meanwhile, the Hughes brothers film Dead Presidents performed modestly. Caravan also produced Powder, which caused some major controversy and admittedly deserving negative attention towards Disney. The film was directed by Victor Salva, a convicted child molester. There were calls to boycott the film over this, and Disney was heavily criticized for releasing one of his films. The news stories over this did not seem to hurt Powder much at the box office, though, as it still turned a healthy profit. Nonetheless, backing a Victor Salva film was not a smart choice from anyone involved. Caravan threw the dice at a bunch of films that did not take off. The Big Green was another attempt at a family film hit, but its theatrical run was disappointing, although like Caravan's previous family pictures, it did a lot better on the home video market. The drama Before and After, starring Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson, was a box office failure, as well as the sports comedy Celtic Pride. First Kid, a family comedy about a Secret Service agent protecting the president's son, did not exactly break out either. The Eddie Murphy vehicle Metro was a major disappointment, obviously hoping to replicate his Beverly Hills Cop success, but coming nowhere close. The comedy Gone Fishin' was a particularly troubled production. The early versions of the script had been kicking around for a few years before Disney approved production. Karate Kid director John G. Avildsen then signed on, but he was fired 2 weeks into production and was replaced by Christopher Kane, who, funnily enough, was previously the director of the next Karate Kid. It would end up going over budget and was hated by critics and a box office flop. A different comedy, Grosse Pointe Blank, proved a nice little win though, as it received strong reviews from critics, pulled in modest numbers, and still has a decent-sized following. Caravan also produced Ridley Scott's military movie G.I. Jane, starring Demi Moore. The film got attention at the time for Moore shaving her head for the lead role, and it performed okay enough at the box office, with home video sales eventually helping it to break even. While reviews were largely mixed, Demi Moore said she's incredibly proud of the movie. They had the space comedy Rocket Man, which originated from an idea by Craig Mazin, the future creator of the acclaimed miniseries Chernobyl. Starring Harland Williams, it was regarded as a really stupid comedy, and its grosses were unimpressive, but the movie has a following. Caravan would try its hand at the prestige film with the period piece Washington Square. Even though it got very good reviews following its premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, Disney seemed to not see much potential in the movie as it got a minimal release and was lucky to even come close to $2 million in grosses. Ivan Reitman's 6 Days, 7 Nights was able to find an audience largely thanks to the star power of Harrison Ford and pulled in modest numbers over the summer. Caravan did miss out on the chance to have its name on one of 1998's biggest surprise hits. Rush Hour was originally being developed at Hollywood Pictures, with Roger Birnbaum and Caravan's president of production, Jonathan Glickman, serving as producers, but Joe Roth decided to put the film in turnaround. Rush Hour was then taken to New Line, although Birnbaum and Glickman would retain their producing credits. Like I said, that movie would turn out a sizable hit, where Birnbaum and Glickman also later producing the sequels. In August 1998, Disney decided they wanted to scale back how much they spent on productions annually, so Joe Roth decided to shut down Caravan Pictures. But instead of leaving Gary Birnbaum out in the cold, he paired him up with Gary Barber and convinced them to start Spyglass Entertainment, which would help finance movies for Disney. Jonathan Glickman would also come along for the ride, and some of the projects being developed at Caravan were moved over to Spyglass. There were still 3 movies left to be released under the Caravan Pictures banner, though. Simon Birch, a loose adaptation of a John Irving novel, was regarded as overly sentimental and did not perform well at the box office. Then there was the comedy Holy Man, starring Eddie Murphy, which was also a flop, and Murphy has since mentioned on multiple occasions his dislike for it. Inspector Gadget would end up being the final movie released under Caravan Pictures. The movie was hated by critics and was not able to double its budget in its theatrical release, although video sales likely pushed the film into profitability, as Disney would release a direct-to-video sequel 4 years later. Inspector Gadget would give Caravan a touching send-off, as its logo at the end of the movie features the man spouting helicopter blades like Gadget and flying off into the distance. While not everything produced by them was well received, Caravan Pictures still represents a significant part of Disney's output in the 90s and certainly fulfilled their role in beefing up their slate with family films, comedies, and dramas that could appeal to a wide audience and possibly continue to have a life on video. And you certainly know which period a film is from if it opens with a Caravan logo. Bonus points if it's a Hollywood Pictures release too. They may be long gone, but certainly not forgotten. See you next time.